Johan, we're on location, Papago Brewing, the new location in Mesa Riverview. We're with...
After a few years of hiatus, huh?
6 years.
6 years of hiatus.
We're with a couple people that have been doing this a long time, and they're kind of like the titans of industry now.
Yeah.
They own the third biggest craft brewery in all of Arizona. It's Jeff and Leah Huss. Thanks so much for having us into this brand new Papago Brewing location. It's Papago 2.0, right? Is that how you guys are describing it?
Yes. Modern, updated, what a pub would feel like in this modern day and age. Not so much the throwback, but kind of a little throwback because I like the English vibe.
Yeah.
If you noted the gold mirror.
Yeah, is that kind of the motif in here? The decor is kind of like an English style pub kind of feel in here?
Very much, yes.
With way more taps than you'd find at almost
Correct.
any English.
Yes, more than the 6 taps you'd get of hand pulls.
A lot less cask, yeah.
Yeah. A lot colder beer.
Engines.
Yeah. A lot
So-
more carbonated.
You guys are now it's just a throwaway from where the Cubs play spring training. Does this mean Magic in the Ivy is coming back, Jeff?
Yes, it does.
I know you guys are diehard Cub fans. Are you still diehard Cub
Correction.
fans?
Yeah,
Jeff
it was-
is a diehard
yes.
Cubs fan.
So I wanted
So
to
you're
know.
not a Cubs fan.
My family are Cardinals.
Oh,
see,
no,
I was going to
okay.
say my wife's from St. Louis.
Yeah, so you have to understand that Central Illinois is very much split, about 50-50.
Oh,
In
yeah.
fact, his brother is a Cardinals fan, and my brother, I have one that is a Cubs fan, and the rest of my family's Cardinals. So, yeah. But yes, back to your Cubs.
Yes.
I mean, that's
Still a fan through all the trade-offs and everything else. but
so.
yes.
I wanted to know. I mean, you're a diehard Cubs fan. Does craft beer come first, or do the Cubs come first? What's your first true love here?
Well, winning solves everything, right? So right now we're a little bit more into the craft beer, I think, but we'll come back.
Would you take a Cubs World Series or a gold medal at Arizona Craft Beer
Oh,
Awards?
my God.
Ooh.
What would you pick first?
I think you're overselling the awards right now, but
Yeah,
you know,
I don't know about that.
maybe in 10 years when
Yeah.
it's, GABF 2.0, but
I know that in 2016, I definitely cried when the Cubs won. So that
Not only that, I ran out back and was like, listen, someone is going to call the cops after what you just went through out here.
the dog was hiding. I had to watch it outside on the patio because our kid
That's
was
so
sleeping. And, yeah.
So are you guys going to do anything, like any activations when there's spring training going on? Like bring your ticket in, you get a 1-cent pint or something like that?
We haven't figured that part
No.
out yet. I will tell you that the first home game is the 25th, and we will be opening for lunch from that day forward. And people have been asking because they want to come in and use Wi-Fi and have lunch and hang out. Lots of industry people specifically. But we are going to be doing the shuttle, just like the roads were running back in the day. So we're going to do a $12 Chicago dog, build your own Chicago dog with a can of hams. And then you can hop on the shuttle and they'll take you over to the park.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I know Cub fans well, so make sure you have plenty of those hams on hand for that because they they're into that. So, let's get into Papago Brewing, why it's here. People who've been here for a while remember Papago. I remember Papago as kind of one of the first breweries that I ever came to in Arizona when I turned, legal age to start drinking. And it was this great little spot in the strip mall around Scottsdale and McDowell. And Leah, you were a big part of that. And now you own that brand now through Huss and this brand new place. What does it mean to you to kind of revive that kind of, I mean, it seems like it's ancient history, but it's not really because it was only in the last 10 to 20 years, right?
Right. So we opened in 2001 in the strip mall. I actually started there during the grand opening week. I was fresh out of culinary school, very quickly, within a matter of days, became the manager. Within months, the managing partner, ran it for 15 years. So when we first opened, we actually had a homebrew store inside. We were Arizona's first true craft beer bar. And there were other places like Sun Devil Liquors and places like that you could go in, and they had a couple of taps, but we were the first ones to have 30 draft taps, 450 bottled beers. And we actually opened with no food program for the first year we were there. So that kind of came after the fact. We did have also a huge wine program, which very quickly fell to the wayside. So, so we kind of essentially introduced every brand that came into the state. We would do the launch party for years and years. And it was fun in that any of the local breweries. So we had some pretty great brewers over at Gordon Biersch and BJ's. So these guys didn't really have much of an outlet for their fun one-off beers back then. We always received all of those things. Like, what was the one? The first time I had Burning Bird from Sonora, that whole name thing. They were using all Citra hops in different beers back then, and it was like revolutionary, things like that, like real true throwbacks.
That the Sonoran that people might know from like what their white chocolate ale, is that the same one?
Uva on the Camelback location.
Oh,
and that's the whole thing too. It's very confusing because there was Sonora, Sun Up.
Yeah, now it's Sun Up Brew. Yeah.
But then there was also the Pinnacle Peak Patio. Part of
way up.
Yeah. So that whole thing is a little confusing, but so it was kind of interesting, and we were definitely the launch pad. And one of the partners, Bruce, he actually very early into our first year, he split off and he started Little Guy Distributing. So he and his son CB, they're responsible for bringing AleSmith, Anderson Valley, Allagash, Left Hand, Tabernash, which doesn't exist anymore, Dogfish Head, Avery, Great Divide,
probably Redstone.
Redstone Mead. I could go on and on. Those beers were here because Bruce and his son went out and sought after those beers to bring them to Arizona.
Yeah, I remember when people were talking about how Allagash used to be out here. Yeah. Now they kind of like lament the days that, like, oh, those were great days. And they don't find it anymore.
What's interesting is Rob Todd, the owner, I knew him through the industry and saw him and was talking to him, and he's like, my beer's down there? We're not distributing there. But there was this program where they were sending beer to Colorado, and Bruce was able to pick up pallets of different beers, and they'd bring the pallet down. And then that was how we had access to it. So, but then they sold that portfolio to Crescent Crown, and that became the world-class beer division, which has now been absorbed, obviously, because the world is different, and craft beer doesn't have to have its own tiny niche anymore. So yeah, there's a little bit of the history. Hopefully I touched on all the things.
So then when did you guys, or I guess you said you became a managing partner? When did Huss kind of come around? And then how did the Papago Huss transition happen?
So we found out we were having our daughter in 2010 at Strong Beer was the first conversation we actually had. Everything in our universe seems to kind of revolve around Strong Beer. As I told you earlier off record, we met at Strong Beer. And I don't know if you knew that Strong
everything
Beer
important comes from Strong Beer, for sure.
Yeah. Strong Beer actually started in my back parking lot. We hosted the first Strong Beer at the back of Papago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was actually an ASH event, and it was wildly successful. We fenced off some of the gross back parking lot, and it was nothing like you know it today.
Well, it's nothing like we're going to see it this weekend.
Right. So it's come a long way, and I'm here for it. And so, we found out we were having our daughter, started conversations about what that would look like. And it kind of only made sense. We looked for buildings forever and kind of were on the fence about, do we want something that's super cool, but are we going to be making a lot of beer? And so it was a really hard situation. And we landed, as you know, in the old Rio Salado Brewery down in South Tempe, because we did decide to open with a 30-barrel system after we spoke to my business partners and realized that we were going to bring all the Papago beers to be produced in-house at Huss. At that point in time, they were just we used to call it the foster child of craft beer. They were being produced anywhere that somebody would make them for us, and we would sell them. So we brought them in and we canned them for the first time at Huss Brewing. So I sold my shares back to my partners in 2015. And in 2016, we bought the brand because I knew that the plaza was going to be demoed. And I had said earlier that the Maloof brothers built that plaza in 1974 on the southwest corner of Scottsdale Road in McDowell. And Mr. Maloof and I believe it was his cousin, sold that property off. So I knew that demo was coming its way, and we would pull the brand in-house, and it's been ours ever since.
Love it.
And did you ever go there, Johan? It was at
No, that was before before my craft
that was
beer
before
time, yeah.
It was such a fun little location that it was like one of the first spots that I remember having like a place having board games out for people to play. I don't know if you guys invented that or came up with that concept, but that was always fun. It was like brand new to me when I first started going places, and kind of had like, you know, like the wood everywhere, that kind of wood feel of like wood seats, benches, stuff like that. And I just remember, you know, always having some beer that I'd never heard of there. Yeah. And that was always such a great memory from Papago.
Well, you could drink a beer you'd never heard of, and then you could play the 1990s version of Trivial Pursuit. That's right. As well, with modern or current times. Yeah, it was really difficult.
There might have been like a missing piece to the sorry board, exactly. You know, but
pop culture from 1988 was not very easy.
That's what happened. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because they probably all came from the thrift store down the street, to be honest. The Goodwill.
So the beers you guys have on tap here, you said earlier, are a bit of a throwback to kind of what you had at Papago. So tell us a little bit, give us some highlights of what you have Chimay on tap, which
we always had Chimay, and the Golden Jock, which again, it was kind of hard to find Belgian beer on draft. So Redstone Meadery, David and Madoka Myers are good friends of ours, and we're always out here. Excuse me. We did the bocce tournament for Dogfish Head with them. Doug Odell is kind of been Jeff's mentor in this industry. All good friends of ours up at Odell. Jeff is also very close with Adam Avery. So we have Avery on there. They're also from the same hometown. Speedway Stout is one that we had. We always were one of the big sellers for all the AleSmith beers, big supporters. My partner Ron was from San Diego, and so he was a big proponent of all the California beers. Also very close friends with Tebow and Arlo Ska and Breckenridge, Ross from Alaskan. And so a lot of these all kind of harken back to the stuff that we would have on tap at Papago for this opening list, you know, with some other stuff mixed in. Obviously, La Cumbre wasn't around, you know, way back in the day. But, you know, I mean, Alaskan Amber, I mean, it's that to me, like we always had that on tap over at Papago just because that was before the rise of the blondes and the lagers and the things like that, right?
Yeah, Ambers were so big back in that day. All the like the Killians and other ones I know I'm forgetting, but a Fat Tire, that sort of style. Yeah.
Yep. The old Fat Tire. Yep. So that's kind of, what inspired our opening list.
And then plenty of like throwbacks to Papago's old brews, right? Orange Blossom is obviously one you guys continued with Huss and under the Papago brand. And then recently the Cherry Blossom, kind of a variant of that. And Coconut Joe's been around for a while. And you just brought back, what is it, the Blueberry Wheat? Was that one that you've had, or is that a brand new one?
In fact, the Cherry, actually, we did at the old Papago. We did do the Cherry. The Blueberry's brand spanking new.
Okay.
The Elsie's is one of the ones. Ron had a dog named Elsie, who looked like a little spotted cow.
And that's like a milk stout kind of,
Irish cream coffee milk stout. And the Coconut Joe, we had that one as well. And then you can look for us to bring back a Robusto Porter, which was CB's, Papago IPA, and then the Oud Cypers, which everyone may or may not remember from Van Steenberg. We had our own bottles of that as well as a draft tap. So that is making its way from Belgium. So TBD on when that'll be on.
Love that.
Very fun. I mean, so how many taps in total here at this new
60.
Papago? 60 in total.
Double what we had at Papago.
That's amazing.
And I mean, that's
Dennis
impressive.
Was always our 30th handle. So here it'll be our 60th.
And there's Mug Club is coming back at this location, right?
Yeah.
She's going to go find one of the mug clubs you can get at Papago, the Papago Brewing 2.0.
So these
Mesa
are our
Riverview.
new mugs.
Cool.
They're very fancy. Yes. The jackalope has kind of hilariously become our mascot here just through the design process. I knew that I wanted to have one on the wall, and our designer has taken it and really like run with it on all of the marketing.
I love that.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
So that wasn't a holdover from the old brass tap.
We had no taxidermy here or the old Papago.
This camera's blocking it. There's a little jackalope on the wall.
We see it on the other ones. So These aren't your handiwork, Jeff. You didn't have a hand. Okay.
Didn't hunt that jackalope. I promise you that.
Yeah, they're hard to find.
Yeah.
And his name?
Yeah, his name is Archibald Hopkins III.
Yes.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
As in Hopkins, but also Jeff's mother's maiden name is Hopkins. So.
Okay.
And Archibald is a family name.
It's like a great grandpa, I believe. Is
Yeah.
what it is.
That's awesome.
And they tell stories while you're here too, probably, right?
So Jeff, so you came from
BJ.
I came from BJ's, yes.
And then what's been kind of your story up until now?
Started at, went to brewing school. It's half in Chicago, half in Munich, Germany. It's called the Siebel Institute, Duman's Academy. I got hired back then. It was a lot more difficult to find a job in the Midwest or anywhere. There were only about 1,700 breweries in the country compared to the 10,000 now. Wow. So I ended up moving from Illinois out to Arizona. I got a job. I got hired by BJ's, got hired by Derek Osborne, Doc, who's now with Pedal House.
Mm-hmm.
I was the head brewer there for 7 years. And then after 7 years, I guess that took us to 2013. We split off and started Huss Brewing Company.
Amazing.
There's so many people here that you meet in Arizona that kind of got their start through a BJ's and then maybe went on to like Four Peaks or Santan and then kind of branched out from there. So like a lot of the smaller breweries, you hear about those stories. Yeah, I started with Doc at BJ's or, like Doc and Melissa Osborne from Four Peaks, they met at BJ's, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you guys, you're part of that. And that's why, you say like the Arizona beer scene now seems like one kind of family, one big family, and everyone kind of branches off now and has their own success. So it's really cool to hear about that.
Yeah,
definitely. I made Doc and Melissa's wedding cupcakes for her wedding.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So this spot, you guys, you mentioned you're going to have some food here. Is it a lot like the Huss Uptown location where it's, like sausages and that sort of thing? What's the menu like?
Yeah,
here?
so we're mixing a little bit of that in just because I love a shareable situation. Our friend group is kind of a show up and we'll order some stuff for the table through the process of hanging out. We did bring back some of the stuff from Papago, but completely revamped from its 2002 version. Some of the pizzas, some of the sandwiches, but again, with like a modern twist on it. The gobbler no longer has bacon and it has pesto. It's very fancy. The T-Rex pizza is pretty much the same, but it doesn't have the bacon on it as well. It has now the crispy salami, which if you haven't tried that yet,
might change your world.
Yeah.
Those just sound like I'm just going to need to drink more beer, order more beer when I get those, right?
Yeah.
That's what the food is for, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So the other thing about when we, release this episode, will be on Thursday, February 16th, start of Beer Week. What do you guys have planned for Beer Week between this location, the Huss locations? Kind of walk me through that. And then obviously strong beer on Saturday. Do you guys know what you're pouring there?
So we here are not doing a whole lot, to be honest with you, because we knew getting opened. I was saying earlier, we had keys on December 2nd and opened on February 2nd. So that's kind of a blistering pace to get all of the paperwork and whatnot done. The interior was not what the holdup was, just getting everything filed and put together. So intentionally, we didn't plan a whole bunch, but we are doing an industry brewers breakfast on Sunday here at 9:00.
Cool.
Beers, burritos, brewers, and Breckenridge.
There you go.
Bringing it back for our
all
friend
the bees.
Tebow.
I like it.
Yeah. So if you don't know, Tebow for years at the Breckenridge down by the ballpark in Denver used to host a breakfast for, is it the morning of GABF? Right before awards, before they moved it and they made it a whole thing. You could go there and they hosted this big breakfast, and then he brought it down and they did it at Santan for a while. And then Santan has decided that they are going to pass the torch. So we're making it less fancy. And so that will be happening on Sunday. And then Saturday, obviously, the festival. We have a silent disco on Friday night. I know that much at Uptown. The, oh my gosh, why am I blanking? Casual Pint. What else is happening?
I had a Czech Pilsner for that.
Yep.
Pretty exciting.
That's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh, we are doing a Meet the Brewers night downtown. Forget what they're doing uptown because, we only have like 7,000 events planned
Yeah, right.
across the board. Beers that you made for Beer Week, though. Our daughter asked for a beer called Pink Pineapple Haze. So it is literally a hazy IPA with pink pineapples. So there's that one.
Barrel aged Doppelbock.
Ooh.
Czech Pilsner. Senfo is out right now.
Yeah, I think your brewer, Matt, told us about that when we interviewed him last about that barrel-aged Doppelbock. I think that, so it's been in the works for a while. Yeah, he kind of teased us about that.
We threw it in September 21st, I think I saw the other day. So it's Stranahan whiskey barrels.
I'm definitely going to come by the tent to try.
Yeah, that's who was telling me that story about Stranahan whiskey. I was telling somebody about that the other day, that the whiskey barrels, he was saying that those come really, really wet, and there's almost like a full bottle of whiskey left over by the time you get the so it's great to order from them. Otherwise, you get from like a Buffalo Trace or something, they just like suck all the whiskey out of the wood.
The big guys figured out how to get all the drops out. The smaller ones are usually a little bit more brewer friendly.
For sure.
So it's just another one of those things that's hard to, I don't know. We've been working on this forever, and I'm drawing a blank on all the things that are coming out right now.
Sour. We've got a ginger sour, lemon ginger sour. I don't know. You know how this works.
Yeah,
we actually did all this 2 months ago.
There's always so many things that come out during Beer Week, so it's just interesting to try to keep track of everything. And then, but Strong Beer, you guys will be there. You always have a big presence there. Beer Week or Super Bowl week? What do you prefer here in Arizona?
Well, when
we
the
just
Super
wrapped
Bowl's
it up
in town,
it
does a little bit better for sales probably than Beer Week. But sorry. But yeah, they're both incredible. We really go through a lot of product, and it's nice to be able to showcase some of the stuff that we don't. A lot of people have had Scottsdale Blonde. Not a whole lot of people have had a Pink Pineapple Haze. Actually, nobody has had Pink Pineapple Haze right now.
Not yet. Yeah.
I'd imagine that downtown location of yours at the convention center was pretty nutty over the last week or so, right?
So we, again, kind of, we obviously work in like 2 months ago planning, but we did have to get credentialed and never picked our credentials up. But what was cool was they did the NFL honors. The red carpet walked right through our big metal fences. They built a stage. So they blacked out all of our signage, obviously, on Thursday. But they built a stage where the people who were speaking interviewed everybody who came through the red carpet. And Heather was like furnishing them with beers on the super secret down low. So we do have pictures. They tagged us at the end and
awesome.
We're very gracious about it. But yes, it was a little bit wild down there. And to be honest, we kind of stayed far away because
for sure
they were like, hey, don't come if you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. I did the same thing, but I did see from afar on Instagram, like some big name, NFL Network celebrities were there holding Huss beers in their hand and posing with them. So that, congrats on that. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jerry Rice was our biggest one, I think, Saturday.
Yeah. Just come out.
Yeah.
Hung out for a while.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
And our GM down there, Heather, who is an absolute gem, just the sweetest human alive. Her dad is a former NFL referee, and her brother is active. Yeah. So, and I don't know if you know the gun show, Ed Hockley. So that's her dad.
Yeah, he's a local attorney here, right?
Yeah, he's now retired from everything. But so for her, it was cool for us to have her down there because she's very much like in the know.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I was telling you guys earlier off the microphone how I feel like Huss was definitely a large part of my sort of craft beer education, and like the way it's really the beer I started drinking when I got away from the PBRs and all that. So you guys have been around for, what is it now? 20?
It's 10 years.
10 years for Huss.
Yeah.
This
in August.
This summer. Okay.
Yeah. August.
And so
congrats.
The industry here in Phoenix obviously has changed dramatically in that time. What's like your takeaway? Like, what's your favorite thing or highlights of the last 10 years and how you've seen the community sort of grow?
I feel like the last 10 years has been in like hyperdrive. Do you feel like sometimes I black out?
All a blur, right? I feel that way with my kids. They're 14 and 12. I'm like, where did that go?
Yeah.
I think that we may have been, and I'm kind of drawing a little bit of a blank on these numbers, but I think that we were about the 32nd or 35th brewery in Arizona, and now there's about 100 of them.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible what, I shouldn't say too sluggish, but the first 30 years of craft beer here, how long it took to get to 30, and then how quickly we got to the additional 70. It's pretty incredible.
And it's such a when people talk about craft beer on a national scale, I feel like Arizona and Phoenix is like not talked about enough.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because I'm not having too many conversations with people all over the country, but do you guys think Arizona's beer scene is a little underrated nationally? And like,
I think it's always been very underrated. Yeah. I mean, and this is coming from, obviously I've been around, but I will tell you, like back when we used to have beer festivals, what would happen is all of the Colorado and California breweries would come because we didn't have enough breweries to throw a festival, in the early days. And I mean, that's 2001, 2002. And so, yeah, I mean, I do think, and obviously with us catching up, and we did have, some roadblocks and some stumbles, I think, on some stuff with some quality of some of the things that were going on. And I feel like it's vastly different now. I think our beer scene is amazing and everybody is really making great beer. But we do not get very much national attention at all. And I know, tried very hard to talk to Brewers Association and to even like have them look at us for a CBC, and even in October, I was like, hey, we're having both the Super Bowl and the golf tournament at the same time. And then we're doing, the next year, March Madness, like to get a take just to get a CBC down here, if we can host the Super Bowl. Right. So I do think very much we get overlooked. Yeah.
And that's the Craft Brewers Convention, right?
The Craft Brewers Conference.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool.
It would be amazing.
That brings in the biggest names.
14,000
craft beer
from across the country. Yeah. Yep. So I don't know. I mean,
well, we'll keep working at it for sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing that, we from Phoenix Magazine love Huss so much because you guys have been coming to so many of our events. You guys came to Best Fest last year. You guys came to the Beer Fest, our beer festival.
Big part of the awards. Some of your folks, Chip, your craft, the minister of craft beer. He was very instrumental behind the scenes in organizing the awards and how beers were poured for the judges and stuff. So
chasing away anyone that wanted to go back to the
Us is going to be at Dish Fest coming up on March 5th.
That's right.
Yes.
So we love that you guys are so involved with our stuff, and we get to have you in all of our other events.
Yeah, and another great thing is you guys, you talking about all those craft breweries out there. Huss is like, their logo is attached to a lot of collabs out there. Like I just had one, the Rise and Shine Coffee Pale Ale that you guys did with Lake Pleasant. And I mean, you can go to any store right now and find Huss is collabed with somebody out there. So you guys are not only doing well for yourselves, but you're also helping out some of these like up and coming breweries that, somebody might see no Huss for the last 10 years and they see, oh, what's this, Lake Pleasant, or what's this Simple Machine all about? And so you help grow that. And that's cool
because, I mean, you said that you guys are the third largest, right? As after, was that Santan and Four Peaks? Yeah. I don't see them doing collabs. So it's really cool to see, the third largest brewery still in that.
Yeah.
And that still feels like a small brewery in a way.
Jeff is very much like, he was helped a lot and still continues to get help. And the reality is that, and it's something that I've always admired. He says he doesn't know everything and he's constantly learning. And the minute you think that you know everything, you should just hang it up because, you're basically going to get bypassed, and so he's very passionate about that. And we still, I mean, to this day, with the guys at Four Peaks and, Malfi and everybody. I mean, we came into it at the right time, I think, because it was so small, and still to be in touch and to be friends with a lot of the people that have been around for as long as we have. But
it's such a cool community.
It is. Cool community. Yeah, it is. And our people outside of it don't understand. His our brother-in-law is like, I don't get this. How are you competing against these people?
He's
but
you're like
giving them advice.
Right,
what are you doing?
Yeah, you want to go out and crush them, right? That should be the goal. No,
you just look at what's changed in the industry for me personally over the last 16 years or 17 or 18 or whatever it is for me. What we were taught in brewing school, specifically with like hops and stuff like that, it's completely changed how we had more or less you know the hops that you threw in at the beginning of the boil were for bittering, and then you could never consider throwing in hops at some of the different temperatures that we're throwing them in now. And we're starting to figure out how to get some of the more fruity pieces of the hops and stuff like that, almost make it taste like you're actually using fruit when you're not, because we're altering lower temperatures. And a lot of breweries that have experimented with this stuff, and they're very willing to kind of help out and talk about that stuff. It's very interesting.
Did hops even have names like they do now, or are you guys like all obsessed with having like
so much fewer?
Now they're like printed on the can, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this is Simcoe is my favorite here."
Yeah, I don't think people really talked about them as much.
Right,
it's like Cascade and Simcoe maybe
15
years ago, but that's definitely changed a lot. Everybody's looking for Mosaic and Citra now.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of crazy is how all of the brewing community kind of was like, stop making all this Cascade and all this Centennial, because all we want is Citra and Mosaic. And then you fast forward 10 years from that point, and everybody's like, where's all the Cascade? Everybody's going back. Everything comes and flows. So.
And then there was the hop shortage of 2007, which was when so that's when Santan opened too. And I remember always forwarding Anthony emails like Sam Adams would be raffling off or giving away a box of hops, and I'd be like, do this, and I know he was going to the local homebrew store to try and scrounge up stuff from Jeffrey over at Homebrew Outpost or Homebrew Depot and whatnot. So there was that, the little things that you kind of, I feel like I've been through it between a recession, hop shortage, 9/11. That was the year we opened. That happened. So Papago, we really have kind of, and
sure.
People love to come in and drink beer during times of distress. So it really does bring people together.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what you said about the food too. You like having food that people can share. And like for me, beer is a inherently community based thing, right? And like I'll go and buy some, crazy barrel aged 15% monstrosity, and it'll sit in my fridge until I have 2 or 3 people over that I can share it with, because there's no way I'm drinking that by myself.
You're not drinking those alone. Yeah.
It's there for that reason. And so that's what I love about the beer community. And I mean, you guys are obviously a huge part of that. So this
morning we were, I was telling you our stories about how our first Valentine's Day, but the first day that we actually met, he came into Papago and he bought an Alaskan smoked porter, and he still has not opened it. We're still holding on to that smoked porter.
It's 2004, 2005, probably. Yeah.
Wow.
It's moved with me about 9 times or so.
So it's a beer that's been bottled for that long. I mean, will it taste the same?
It's been refrigerated all along the way. I don't know. What's your take on it?
Do they go bad?
Smoked beer at high alcohol?
That one should be okay.
Yeah.
Some of them, it just depends on the quality control.
Yeah.
Obviously, oxidation is very much a thing. A lot of these darker beers will they get like an umami flavor to them after they've been sitting for too long. It kind of tastes like soy sauce, which is pretty gross. But if you're gonna
really
buy
excited to open this bottle,
if you're gonna buy something, hold on to it for 15 years. You definitely have your fingers crossed when you're opening it.
Yeah, right.
If you're me, most people don't even notice.
I don't think we're saving it for anything to like open it for something special either. It's just ended up that way.
It's the next Cubs World Series win. That's what he's saving it for.
There you go.
Or a Bears Super Bowl win. Are you guys like all the Chicago teams there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Bears Super Bowl may not happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
Hey, come on. There's next year.
Hey,
there always is. In the NFL.
We're Cardinals fans, man.
Yeah,
we can't say much.
I'm not saving anything for Cardinals. That's for sure.
That's our other team in the house, and our daughter has decided that she's like, screw it all. I'm a Chiefs fan.
Yeah. Right.
It's easy right now.
Yeah, right.
Sign them up for flag football, and they get an Eagles jersey. I'm like, hey, I'm a big fan of Jalen Hurts now.
Yeah.
So, but all right, well, thank you guys so much. This is Papago Brewing Company, Mesa Riverview. It's reborn here in Mesa. Check it out. It's right by the Cinemark Theater. Is that movie theater still running?
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's been there for a while.
Yeah.
Turn at the Chili's, and then you can't miss Papago Brewing. It's right there on the corner, right by there's a Hubbard swim school. Yep. That's where my kids learn to swim. So I know this area very well, and can't wait to come back in here and check it out in person when it's open? When do you guys open? What are the hours?
Well, starting on the 25th, like I said, we'll be open for lunch.
Okay.
Moving forward from that day. So right now we're just open during the week at 3:00, but that'll be short-lived. That's just till next week.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, congrats on the new location. It's awesome in here. It's the old Brass Tap, but now it's Papago 2.0. So
Yep.
Jeff and Leah, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Very much.